In the bustling heart of New Terra Station, where the hum of interstellar shuttles blended with the chatter of 1,000 species, Elias Harper stood in line, clutching his worn travel pass. The year was 2147, and Earth had long since become a node in the galactic web, but Elias felt more alone than ever. A middle-aged mechanic from the dusty outskirts of what used to be Kansas, he had lost his wife to a rare cosmic radiation illness 2 years prior, and now he was heading back to his empty home after a failed job interview on Alpha Centauri. The line snaked endlessly, filled with beings of all shapes, tentacled traders from Vega, crystalline diplomats from Sirius, and humans like him, all vying for the next warp shuttle. But it was the frail figure ahead of him that caught his eye, an elderly alien, hunched and trembling, with iridescent scales faded to a dull gray, fumbling with a handful of mismatched credits at the ticket counter. The alien's name was Zorvath, though Elias wouldn't learn that until later. Zorvath belonged to the ancient race of the Eldari, once revered as guardians of the stars, but now scattered refugees after their homeworld's cataclysmic supernova. His voice quivered as he pleaded with the automated kiosk, "Please, I must reach Epsilon Eridani. My kin, they wait for me. These are all I have." The machine beeped indifferently, "Insufficient funds." Next. Zorvath's shoulders slumped, his large, luminous eyes dimming with despair. He turned away, shuffling toward the exit, but in that moment, something stirred in Elias, a quiet echo of his own losses, the way his wife's final days had been marked by helplessness against an uncaring universe. Without a second thought, Elias stepped forward. "Wait," he called, his Midwestern drawl cutting through the noise. He scanned his own pass, transferring the last of his savings to cover the difference. "There. That should do it." Zorvath stared at him, bewildered. "Why? You do not know me, human." Elias shrugged, offering a small smile. "Doesn't matter. Everyone deserves to get home." As they boarded the shuttle together, an unlikely companionship formed in the cramped seats. Zorvath shared tales of his youth, navigating nebulae and brokering peace between warring planets, his voice gaining strength with each memory. Elias listened, opening up about his own life, the endless wheat fields of his childhood, the joy of building engines that could defy gravity, and the void left by his wife's passing. "Kindness like yours is rare," Zorvath murmured. "In my long life, I've seen empires rise and fall on greed. But you remind me of the old ways." Elias chuckled softly. "Just doing what any decent person would. Back home, we call it neighborly." The shuttle lurched into warp, stars blurring into streaks of light, and for the first time in years, Elias felt a spark of connection, a reminder that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in technology or conquest, but in the simple act of reaching out. Minutes after docking at the Epsilon Eridani outpost, a sprawling hub of floating platforms orbiting a vibrant gas giant, the unexpected unfolded. As Elias helped Zorvath disembark, the ground trembled beneath them. Alarms blared, and the crowd scattered in panic. From the swirling clouds above, 3 elite spaceships descended, their sleek hulls gleaming like polished obsidian, adorned with the insignia of the Galactic Elite Guard, the most formidable fleet in the cosmos, reserved for dignitaries and crises of universal scale. Elias froze, heart pounding. "What in the world?" he whispered, shielding Zorvath instinctively. The ships landed with precision, their ramps extending like welcoming arms. Out stepped a phalanx of armored Eldari warriors, their scales vibrant and armor etched with ancient runes. At their forefront was a regal figure, taller and more imposing than Zorvath, with eyes that burned like twin suns. The leader approached, kneeling before Zorvath in a gesture of profound respect. "Father," she said, her voice echoing with emotion. "We have searched the stars for you." Elias's mind reeled. "Father?" Zorvath, the seemingly destitute wanderer, straightened, his faded scales shimmering faintly as if reclaiming lost vitality. "Lyra, my daughter," he replied, tears glistening. "I feared I would never see you again." The revelation hit Elias like a warp jump. Zorvath wasn't just any Eldari, he was the last High Elder, presumed lost in the supernova that destroyed their world. His kin weren't distant relatives, they were the remnants of his royal lineage, now leaders of the elderly diaspora. Lyra turned to Elias, her gaze piercing yet grateful. You, human. You aided our sovereign when the galaxy turned its back. For this, we owe you a debt beyond measure. As the crowd gathered, whispering in awe, the emotional weight settled over Elias. He had acted on impulse, driven by a memory of his wife's final wish, be the light in someone's darkness, Eli. Now, that simple act had bridged worlds. Lyra explained that Zorvatha's signal had been faint, lost in the void, but the ticket purchase had triggered a hidden beacon in his ancient amulet, alerting the elite guard. Your kindness summoned us, she said. Elias shook his head, overwhelmed. I didn't do it for reward. I just saw someone in need. But the elderly insisted on honoring him. They offered Elias a place among them, not as a servant, but as an advisor, sharing human ingenuity to rebuild their fleet. More profoundly, they revealed a medical archive from their archives, advanced treatments that could have saved his wife, now shared freely with Earth to prevent future tragedies. In the climax of that fateful day, as the spaceships prepared to depart, Zorvath placed a scaled hand on Elias's shoulder. Humanity's power lies not in might, but in the heart's quiet revolutions, he said, his voice steady and wise. Elias felt tears welling, a cathartic release of grief and hope intertwined. He had come to the stars seeking purpose, only to find it in an act of selflessness that rippled across galaxies. Boarding one of the elite ships, Elias looked back at the outpost, the ordinary mingling with the extraordinary. The elderly warriors saluted him, not as an outsider, but as family. Years later, Elias would return to Earth, not as the broken mechanic, but as a bridge between worlds. Stories of his deeds spread, inspiring a new era of interstellar compassion, humans aiding aliens in crises, forging alliances born from empathy. In schools across the USA, children learned of the Harper Doctrine, one act of kindness can summon stars. And in quiet moments, Elias would gaze at the night sky, whispering to his wife's memory, we did it, love. We lit the darkness. The universe, once vast and indifferent, now felt interconnected, a tapestry woven from threads of humanity's enduring spirit. In the end, it wasn't the spaceships or the titles that mattered, but the reminder that in a cosmos of billions, a single generous heart could change everything, leaving us all inspired to reach out, to help, and to believe in the power of one.